February 15th, 2011, Tehran, Iran. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the current president of the Islamic Republic of Iran, gives a speech to thousands of supporters denouncing the U.S. as the Great Satan. It's hard to believe with the current news headlines, but there once was a time when Iran was a staunch ally of the West and a secularized nation. So how did Iran become our nation's enemy? The answer is the Iranian Revolution, promised heaven but created hell. The Iranian Revolution was a major turning point in history. It dramatically changed the social and political landscape of Iran, acted as a template for further revolutions in the Middle East, such as the Arab Spring, and destroyed U.S.-Iran relations. The roots of the Iranian Revolution begin far back at the turn of the century. Iran entered the 20th century as an impoverished and largely rural third-world country. Reza Pahlavi, a charismatic soldier, established the Pahlavi monarchy, replacing the previous ruling monarchy, the Qajars. He diligently worked to bring Iran into the modern era, secularize the people, and westernize the culture. To feed the country's expanding demand for energy, the Soviet Union and Great Britain fought for control of Iran's vast oil fields. Iran was at the middle of a great game of tug-of-war between the Soviet Union to the north and the British territories to the south. As World War II progressed, the Soviets and British became apprehensive of Reza Shah's growing alliance with Adolf Hitler, leader of Nazi Germany. Afraid to lose their regional control of Iran, the two empires' armies invaded Iran in 1941, forcing Reza Shah into exile. They installed his son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, in power. In 1953, the Shah's power began to dwindle as the Iranian people threw their support behind a wealthy lawyer from Tehran named Mohammad Mossadegh. They democratically elected him Prime Minister of Iran. Mossadegh nationalized Iran's oil fields, returning the oil to the people. The Americans and British feared for loss of control in Iran, so they worked together to reinstitute the Shah. Mossadegh was overthrown in a dramatic coup d'etat in 1953, and the Shah was reinstated. At that moment, many Iranians began to view the Shah and his government as a puppet of the West.
And that's actually much of what motivated the Iranian Revolution, was the sense that the Shah was a patsy of Western powers, and that the Shah wasn't in fact a representative of the Iranian people.
This was the first step on the road to revolution. Life under the Shah was very secularized and reflected the Western philosophies of the Shah's government. 98% of the population was Muslim, but Islam did not play a large part in society, government, or culture. For the middle class, life was privileged. Children received good educations and led comfortable lives.
Life was pretty normal and pretty similar to life it is here before the revolution.
According to Houman Majd, Iranian native and best-selling author, under the Shah, life was okay, even good for his family. The next event in Iranian history and cause of the revolution was the White Revolution. The White Revolution was a series of social and economic reforms passed by the Shah to legitimize the Pahlavi monarchy and create a new base of support among the peasants and working class. The revolution succeeded in improving the education of the rural population, but increased social tension and quadrupled the urban working class, which was strongly against him. It sent millions of poor workers to the cities, where they lived in slums and rebelled against the Shah. Another major mistake made by the Shah was his obliviousness to the poverty and human rights violations within his own country. The Shah's secret police, known by the acronym SAVAK, would torture and beat civilians that made anti-Shah comments. The citizens viewed the Shah as an aristocratic leader. He lived a luxurious and extravagant lifestyle, while millions of lower-class people wallowed in poverty, with no hope of change. Even though Iran was making huge amounts of money off of their oil, this money was not distributed evenly, mainly going to the Shah's government officials and a wealthy few. The poor became disgruntled and wanted to change Iran. They wanted to institute a new era of democracy and freedom. They united under their newfound leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Mustafavi Mousavi Khomeini. As his fame grew, he became more active in Iranian politics, and in 1964 denounced the Shah's government and the United States, prompting his forced exile. Undeterred, he was still active while in exile, continuing to publish his works that spoke out against the Shah and his tyrannical rule. Fueled by the desire for change, the first protests erupted in Iran around 1978. Brutal clashes broke out between young, rebellious Iranians and the Shah's army. The Shah began to realize that his place on the throne was in jeopardy. The revolution was growing and looked to be unstoppable. Many of the Shah's supporters began to lose faith in the government that they had supported for so many years. Western leaders began to feel the effects of the revolution, and many predicted the exit of the Shah. This prediction came true on January 16, 1979, when Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, dying from cancer, left Iran. He claimed he was going on a vacation to Egypt, but he never came back to the country he once ruled. Finally returning to Iran after many years in exile, Ayatollah Khomeini flew into Meherbad Airport on February 1, 1979, to millions of supporters and followers. Although the Ayatollah was back in Iran, the revolution wasn't over. On February 18, 1979, the protests culminated with the ousting of the Shah's government and the foundation of the Islamic Republican Party. From this period on, Iran was in a shaky state. Ruled by various committees and organizations, Iran still had a much divided population, loosely united by the common enemies of the Shah and the US, and the hope of democracy and freedom. Through all the chaos, Khomeini remained the centerpiece of the revolution, which was spearheaded by promises of freedom and Islamic unity. One enemy remained for the people of Iran, the United States of America. Countless mass protests occurred in front of the American embassy throughout 1979, covering the outer brick walls with anti-American slurs. Great measures were taken to improve the overall security of the American embassy, but all of these preparations were not enough. One group, entitled the Student Followers of the Imam's Line, secretly met and devised a plan to occupy the American embassy. The organization carried out their plan on November 4, 1979. The Shah's recent entry to the US for cancer treatment provided the much-needed catalyst for the students, who wanted the Shah to return to Iran to face his crimes and be publicly hanged. Thousands of young revolutionaries poured into the embassy compound and began taking hostages. The Iranian police never intervened. Many believed the hostage crisis would end after a few days, but as days turned to weeks and weeks turned to months, it became apparent that this issue would not be resolved quickly. Catherine Kobe, the sole female survivor of the hostage crisis, has shared memories from her time in captivity.
It was a lot of waiting. It was, for me, exercising when I was able to, reading, and I chose to turn part of the day into a study of the contemplative life. It was sometimes living 15 minutes at a time.
On January 20th, 1981, the 444-day ordeal ended amid cheering American crowds. Returning as national heroes, the hostages' lives were changed forever. As for Iran, after a short period of immense change, the Iranian government settled into a relatively stable political period. On a foreign level, though, Iran remained chaotic, with an escalating war with the Iraqis just getting underway. Saddam Hussein, leader of Iraq, invaded Iran in the wake of the revolution, perceiving Iran as an easy target. The Iraqis invaded the Iranian province of Khuzestan, home to many of Iran's oil reserves. A native of Khuzestan, Arash Shahida, describes the effects of the Iran-Iraq war.
Close to about 1 million people died in that war. It was brutal. We lost a whole generation of young men.
After the Iran-Iraq War ended in 1988, Iran was struck with another catastrophe. Ayatollah Khomeini, the undisputed supreme leader of Iran for the last 10 years, had passed away. Before passing away, he had chosen his successor. Ayatollah Khamenei became the next leader of Iran, and the era of Khomeini faded away. Although many Iranians believed their problems were solved with the revolution, the immediate celebration and happiness gave way to the reality of an Islamic republic.
Now society it's an Islamic society with a lot of Islamic restrictions.
From Mahmoud Tehrani's perspective, it's hell to live under this regime and the bankrupted economy.
The first couple of years, there was a great deal of hope that life was going to be much better. And then very quickly, and I'm talking quickly, people realized that they had just opened a gate and let in a lion into their house.
The extent of the Iranian Revolution's impacts on the Middle East did not stop there. As other countries watched Iran completely reconstruct its own government, inspiration filled the hearts and minds of those oppressed under their own imperfect governments. Much like the American Revolution sparked the French Revolution, the Iranian Revolution had a large role in inspiring the oppressed citizens of other countries throughout the Middle East, such as Tunisia, Libya, and Egypt, to rebel against their governments. Today, Iran is in a relatively similar state as it was when the Islamic Republic was first established in 1979. The Iranian Revolution continues to have a lasting impact upon the social and political landscape of Iran, the oppressed peoples of the Middle East, and US-Iran relations. All of these are living proof of the Iranian Revolution's impact on our ever-changing world.